Wargaming are releasing a brand new Weasel Toe, at least a alternate version of the Weasel Toe. This is the Jaguar 1, and this tank is a missile launcher only vehicle, and we're going to cover that in today's update news. We have some other update news to go through as well, some Q&As from Wargaming themselves from their live stream, and we'll cover all of that for you guys, and hopefully I'll be interested to see what you say in the comment section. I'll be reading through them today when this video goes live. So what is the Jaguar 1? Well, it is a missile launching tank. I guess we could put the YouTube video on, potentially. I will mute it. So let's see what the gameplay is like of this tank. I'm assuming it is just, you know, your typical driving around with your missile launcher. Nice little visual screenshots of the garage, apparently. And here we go. I mean, it is a new ATGM only vehicle. Let's have a look at whether it has a yaw limit. I'm not entirely sure. We've got some statistics of the vehicle that we can have a look at. Oh, look. Here we go. 1,470 damage. 900 penetration. Premium rounds, 1,250 penetration. And 1,470 damage. Yes, that looks rather penetrationable. Yes. Mobility and mayhem, same. Top speed, yeah, brilliant. It's always good to give them like super speed. This tank looks a little bit less mobile than the Weasel Toe, by the looks of it. So I mean that might be a bonus. It also looks a little bit bigger than the Weasel Toe, so hopefully it's not as overpowered. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see until we get it in game, and that'll be on Tuesday. So just keep aware of this vehicle. On the 8th of August, which is Tuesday next week, we will be getting this tank in the game. And so what are the characteristics of this tank? Obviously, we've seen the damage numbers, etc. But the key things are that it has a 65% silver bonus. So this is the premium bonus. It is a premium. 10% tank XP, 10% commander XP, 2,900 hit points, which is mediocre. Engine power of 500, which means its power to weight ratio is 19.61, which is pretty awful when you consider that the Weasel Toe has the ability to have a much better power to weight ratio of 30. Yeah, 30 power to weight ratio. Okay. So it isn't the Weasel Toe killer, but it might be more of a stub your toe when you're playing this tank. But I apologise, that was awful. 70 kilometers an hour top speed, whereas the Weasel Toe has a 80 kilometers an hour top speed. The Weasel Toe gets less damage than this one, but I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, camo and concealment, I'm expecting it's much worse than this one, but yeah, view range, you've got what's that, a decent amount, hopefully 590, so it's the same. Concealment, yeah, will probably be worse because it's a bigger vehicle. So yeah, the tank overall, 18.5 degrees of gun depression, yaw limits of 45 degrees either side. Don't know if, yeah, that's the same as the Weasel Toe. So it looks like this tank is just going to be a slower version of the Weasel Toe. I'm sure Wargaming loved the fact that the Weasel Toe sold so many, so they made another one. Yeah, hopefully you guys see through the lies of the Wargaming and don't go out and hopefully buy this tank thinking that it's going to be another Weasel Toe, because probably isn't going to be. It's going to be a lot slower, a lot more sluggish, and it certainly isn't as small. So it's going to be an easier target. So I think this tank is going to be fairly well balanced. This is what the Weasel Toe should have been before they brought it in as what it is. So yeah, probably isn't the one I'd say to recommend getting if I wanted an ATGM launcher in Era 3. But I'm interested to see what you guys think of this tank. I mean, it looks cool. I think it's a nice addition to the game. Do I think it's going to be super competitive? Is it going to take the place of the Weasel Toe? Probably not. But you know, it's there, it's cool, it's something extra. We don't have a lot of these in World of Tanks, so it's nice to have in the game. So that's my opinion on the Jaguar 1. Of course, yeah, that's before we play it, so yeah, maybe it will be just as broken, but we'll have to wait and see. But if you want to purchase this thing, yeah, 18,200 gold if you want the Jaguar 1, the top version. 13,700 gold if you want the loaded version, and 11,500 if you want the standard version, and that's at a 20% discount. Look how nice Wargaming are being here. It would only cost you about £35 or about $45. Yeah, thank you Wargaming. Making a worse version of a tank that's OP, and it's probably cheaper to buy the Weasel 1A1, I expect, but there we go. Obviously, it's down to you whether you want to purchase this thing, but for me, I probably would avoid it if I was thinking about trying to get myself a ATGM launcher in Cold War, but that is just me, and of course you can make your own opinions as to what you think about this tank. I'm simply giving my opinion compared to the other vehicles that we have in the game. But we'll play it. We'll do a full review when it does come out, so you guys will be up to date with how this tank actually plays, and maybe, just maybe, it's actually pretty good. But yeah, I will wait to see that rather than say that. But anyway, moving on, we then have some of the other update news, and of course a little bit of a recap from this season. Now, of course, what we had this season is the Flames of War, which introduced the potential for flamethrower tanks. Yep, flamethrower tanks, which include the Churchill Crocodile, I believe, or Crocodile, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. It's Crocodile. But essentially, it's a flamethrower Churchill. You also then had an M48A2 version with a flamethrower as well, I want to say. It might be a slightly different version of the tank. Obviously, you guys might actually know, but it is the one that is kind of shown within the Flames of War season, so I don't know if we've got it open. But essentially, it's this tank right here. I believe it's like the M48A2 or something like that. But it has a flamethrower, so we've yet to see them in the game. I've got a couple of theories as to whether or not these are going to come in as actual tanks into the game, or whether they're going to be coming in as an event game mode that Wargaming have been saying about for a little bit of time. So there's probably two options. Either they are just tanks that they're bringing in, and they're going to wait until they've got like a big promo type thing during the season, and a little bit into the season to release these vehicles in the game. Or they're going to then, you know, release them as like a limited time event game mode that they've been banging on about for a while. So maybe it will be that. But I'll be interested to see how they do with it, and it would be cool to have these tanks in the game. I think it's something extra, something interesting. The only problem I have with these vehicles is that hopefully that the flames are not horrible enough that they essentially end up making it so you can't hit anyone because you can't see anything because there's a load of flames everywhere in your tank. So hopefully that isn't the case, but I guess it's just something we'll have to wait and see, and hope Wargaming actually balance them quite well. So, flamethrower tanks, they are coming. This is what Wargaming have said. As seen in the trailer, flamethrowers will share more on these as we get closer to our release. Our content team is working hard to make sure we have game guides and articles ready for their release, but we can guarantee they'll raise the temperature of any battle. So, by that statement, makes it seem like it's actual World War II mode, the like actual game, but not the event. So yeah, I mean, make of this what you will. I'll be interested to see your theories as well. Maybe I've got it completely wrong. Maybe they're doing something radical. Maybe they're doing something I haven't thought about. But let me know in the comments what you think of this flamethrowers, what you actually think of flamethrowers in the first place. Do you think they're a terrible idea for a tank game? Or do you think there'll be something interesting? I think the RU server had flamethrowers added in, or the Asia server had flamethrowers thrown in on World of Tanks on PC. So obviously we're following suit on console, but it should be interesting to see what they do. And I don't think they're going to be outrageously broken, at least fingers crossed, or at least don't mean that if they hit you with a flamethrower you're set on fire, because that is just absolute... Oh, yeah. Although it does make me worry that they're having to produce game guides and articles. So, yeah. Does that mean they're expecting it to be broken and people being annoyed at how these tanks are going around, being a nuisance? Oh, please. Please, no. Anyway, sweeping that away, we have the Wargaming 25th anniversary. So, of course, this is a continued celebration. And they have back in store. So this is the Crimson tanks. So these are the Ragnarok, which is the tier 8 autoloading Czechoslovakian medium tank. You have the Minotaur KV-5, which is a superb vehicle, I believe. I think that's a Crimson tank. I should probably check that one out. And then, of course, the Hydra IS-6, which I believe is the other one. And all three of these tanks are very, very strong in the game. And they're some of my favourite premiums if I was wanting like a super competitive premium tank to actually play in the game. So take that as you will and decide on whether you want to purchase them. And they do give a ridiculous silver bonus as well. I think it's 75%. It's the highest in World War II. To my knowledge. Now, don't quote me on that. I think 75% is the highest. There may be a tank with 80%, but I'm pretty sure it is 75%. So yeah, it's very high regardless. The typical premium tank is 50% extra silver. These are 75% extra silver. So it's always nice. Anyway, moving on. The select tier 2s and 3s, aka from the Vault collection, are also being released for gold. Yay, I can't wait to play broken tier 2s. Yay, broken premium tier 2s like the FCM Pack 40. It's really good for low tiers and of course new players to come up against 5 skill crews in the low tier artillery that are completely balanced like the left. Yeah, it's a terrible idea. I hate that they keep releasing these broken premium low tier vehicles because it actually is horrible for the low tier experience. And even players that are experienced will struggle to play against a Lef or something like that because they are just so toxic. And genuinely, who is playing tier 2 and 3 the entire game? Like, you must be genuinely so bored of just like playing up against baboons who are just kind of rolling around the map doing absolutely nothing because they've literally played 10 games and apparently you're a good player by playing up against those sorts of players who have literally not played World of Tanks for very long. Yeah, I don't get it, but yeah, each to their own. Maybe you do enjoy it, but yeah, I don't get how people enjoy it is my main thing. Anyway, moving on, the contract for the Long Reach is coming out as well. So this is the mercenary vehicle. It's a mix between like a VK shoved in with like a IS kind of tank. It's a weird mishmash. Gets a good gun, and that's primarily what that tank's all about. The tank of the month is the Talon T40-122, which is like a medium tank with a 122mm, so 390 alpha, which is good. I don't know how it plays in the game. Maybe we'll have to do a review for you guys. So if you do actually purchase this, you'll be able to see exactly what sort of things you should be testing out with it, what sort of perks, equipment, etc. So yeah, I will try my best to actually get that out in the next week or so. We've then got the weekend event, so this is what's happening right now, the Purple Heart Recognition medal awarded to those who wounded or killed while serving in the US military. Earn 5,000 or more XP in any number of battles to receive the emblem once per day, so you can get that yourself. Today there was a controlled game mode testing, so this means that, the control mode that we saw where you've got a flag and stuff like that, and you have to go in and you have to sit in there, you can respawn. That is back into the game, except you can test it at tier 8 with lights, mediums, heavies and TDs, and it is with Airfield, Ruhenberg, Overlord and Himmelsdorf in the map rotation, so you can test it out, let Wargaming know exactly what you think of this control game mode testing, which is essentially like domination from all of the first person shooters where, you can respawn and you have to sit in a cap to capture it, and then the enemy team have to go and try and recapture it, and there's 3 different control points in the game that you can go and capture. It was a little bit less dynamic than I was hoping it would be when I last played it, because I felt like there wasn't enough emphasis on, you know, trying to capture multiple points. It just didn't seem particularly great. But yeah, hopefully this game mode is something that they can develop, make it into something very good. And of course that needs your guys' feedback, so hopefully you'll jump in there, give it a go and see what you think. Changes from the last test: reduce points earned when destroying enemy tanks, so changing from 50 to 30, so the game actually increases in time. So that was as per the feedback. And self-destruct penalty. If players self-destruct, that awards 30 points to the enemy team. That's not bad. And next week, the new tank is the Jaguar 1. Obviously, we've covered it. There is, of course, an on-track event to the M1A2 Abrams, which will give you 25% XP bonus during all of the tanks leading up to the M1A2 Abrams. And it will also give you a silver bonus, a silver discount between all of the tiers or eras leading up to the M1A2 Abrams, which is essentially just a silver discount. Usually it's like 30% as you get into the higher era tanks, and then like 50% in the base era tanks. So it's a nice way to actually buy through all of the tanks that you want to get in that line. So I highly recommend doing it. It usually lasts 2 weeks, and so yeah, you have a little bit of time to get that. And then there's week 2 of the anniversary sale. So we got the Kunze-Panzer and the T22 medium, which is nice. And there's tanks for free XP in the premium tech tree as well. 50% discount on commanders. I mean, if you want that, and the commander skill respec. So it's a good time to respec your crew. And then tank to free XP conversion. 1 gold will yet net you 35 free XP. So it's a good time to convert if you are going to do that at any time. And that was basically it for the update news. Let's jump over to the Q&A, which is always one of the best bits about this. So let's jump in that now. Can we have Blackbeard as a 3D commander for the event with Pirates and Dracula for Halloween? Blackbeard's a good idea. We can float this to the team and see if it's something they can do. Yep, I mean, whatever. It's not something I'm interested in, but a new 3D commander for you guys with Blackbeard, it would be kind of cool. Will we be getting any new Halloween tanks this year? And how about a Halloween Cold War tank? It's too early to talk about Halloween. But yes, there will be some new things coming along, but we can't talk about those just yet. So, of course, they usually release a new kind of Halloween vehicle every year. So that's cool. When will the next event like War Heroes Legends be? There is nothing currently planned, but we will let you know if anything's coming up like that in the future. So nothing so far. Is there any possibility for us to share the last recent matches in our replays? It's not on our radar, but we will take note and it will be a backlog item for us to follow up on. I like this idea, and it would be something to follow up with more social elements in the game. This would be good, I think, but you know, I don't know. I just want more replay functionality. The whole replay system's pretty terrible, I won't lie. Yeah, it would be just nice to have a better version of that. Can you change the HUD font and make it a little bigger and bolder, and maybe change the saturation of the red and green colours and make it stand out more? We did a lot of changes to the HUD late last year, but right now there's no further plans to make it bigger or change the colours, etc. So that's absolutely fine. Any info on the AAT60 and how it's performing across the game? We didn't have time to grab the stats, but the tank is performing well and the skill groups are performing about the same. So all skill groups, as in, you know, the best players in the game and the worst players in the game, you know, they perform decently compared to all of the other players, all of the same players in different tanks, if that makes sense. Because sometimes it's an unfair pick of statistics that Wargaming take when they say, oh, this new tank has like a 44% win rate. And it's like, they don't usually have that low. But for example, 44% win rate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but Wargaming, you forgot the fact that you gave it to absolutely everyone as part of the Ultimate Season Pass. So anyone that just buys it will have access to it. What about when you compare it to, for example, a tank that you had to pay 30,000 gold to get? Well, only elite level players or more experienced players or people that are willing to spend money in the total of about 60 quid are going to have purchased it, so they're more likely to be much better at the game than, you know, someone who's got a tank for part of the season pass that didn't really cost them anything. So as a general rule, like you're not going to get a brand new player who's just started playing World of Tanks, who doesn't have any skills, who hasn't got any experience, buying a £100 tank. Now, it might happen, but for the most part, it probably isn't, and therefore statistics can be skewed, which is why I like seeing the all skill groups as a comparison. Like, what are the top 5% of players doing in this tank compared to the top 5% of players doing in all of the other tanks? And you'll see that. And then how is the lowest 5% doing compared to the lowest 5% of all of the other tanks? And then like different, checkpoints throughout the entirety of the thing. I think that would be a better way of showing the actual skill level of everyone like that. And you could just do it by wargaming rating. I mean, it's not the best statistic as to how good someone is, but it's better than most. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Do you have any tanks reforged coming for Cold War tanks? Yeah, you can look forward to an upcoming balance pass in a future update. Okay. This could be cool. Hopefully they do something with the Americans, so like the M1A2 Abrams, because it's not particularly that great. Any chance to get new tech tree tank skins soon? Expect something soon in an upcoming update. That could be good. Can you take a look at the Caliban? I feel this tank needs a buff. No, there's no current plans to apply any buffs to the Caliban. It's currently performing very well with a high survival rate and the highest lifetime rate of all heavy tanks in its tier. Yeah, probably because everyone's waiting to try and get one shot of damage off. I don't know. A high survival rate. That's what makes a tank fun to play and balance. Yeah. I think that was probably a terrible response in terms of like why it's balanced. It's performing very well with a high survival rate. But what about average damage? What about, how much XP this thing's getting on average? What about the win rate of this tank? Seem to have left that one out. But yeah, I don't think the Caliban is very good or very well performing in the game. Certainly not either of those. And I could quite easily see this tank being buffed slightly. Just something to make it a little bit less painful. A little bit more mobility or something like that. Doesn't need a whole lot. Just something to make it just a little bit more mobile or something. To make it into a decent / good tank. Are you still planning on adding multi-turret support to tanks like the Grant and Churchill? We do have some planned, and World War II, but they're not in schedule yet. Will rank battles make a return? We have this come up a lot. We'll try to bring back some of the things that made rank battles important and bring it back in event battles, so the original rank battles will not be returning. To be quite honest with you, 95% of players do not give a rat's backside about ranked battles. So I think from wargaming standpoint, there's no point in developing something like this. And to be honest with you, you're playing against, like if you're taking this game seriously, which some people do, obviously competitive wise, there isn't really a competitive scene. As much as people want to say, oh yeah, I play console competitive World of Tanks, it's like, do you though? Because you're playing up against 50-year-old men who come home from work and throw on the Xbox to play 3 games of World of Tanks. Is it? Let's be real here. This is not a competitive game. Yeah, there's and there's nothing wrong with doing that, by the way. I'm just saying that is the audience of World of Tanks. So yeah, I mean, there are people who aren't going to be investing hundreds of hours into playing World of Tanks console. So yeah, I just think that this game is not a competitive game. And I mean, just in terms of statistics-wise, if we wanted to, give an idea as to how the statistics are actually faring up in terms of my stats or whatever, you can have a look at them here. So this is the statistics page of, of myself over 60 days. So I played at 5,000 WN8, which is apparently, this ultimate, wow, you're 5,000 WN8, blah, blah, blah. Which puts me in the top 200 in the game or something like that. So, I mean, trust me, this game is not competitive. And this is coming from a player that is obviously done pretty decently. I'm not saying I'm the best in the game, but I have played a lot of this game, and I can safely say this one is not a competitive game whatsoever. So, yeah, I don't see the point in ranked battles, to be honest. And you can see the problems they're having in PC if you've been following that. But either way, moving on, can you bring back the Girls and Panzer vehicles? If we do bring them back, we'll let you know, but nothing is currently planned. Would it be possible to put our clan tags in place of emblems? There are location for clan tags on the art and data side, but we need some back-end support to allow them to be applied. Cool things to have would be nice. Could we have Abby added back to higher tiers? We're taking a look at bringing back Abby to tier 10. This will be good. I don't see why they ever removed it from tier 10. Can you add an option to remove 3D commanders or reposition them in MVP screen? We probably won't add anything to reposition them, but we have had talks about having the shine be on the tanks more on the MVP screen. Yep, that would be a good thing to have. It should be the tank, not the weird commander that they've made that is showing their backside in front of everyone. Yeah, that would be good. Is it possible for you to make the IS-3A and Fatherland into auto-reloaders similar to how the PC function works? Initially, these tanks were planned to be converted to auto-loaders, but unfortunately, due to how the mechanics work, there was a lot of negative feedback, and these plans were dropped altogether. So this was back in the day, by the way. The Fatherland is one of the older premium tanks in the game, and it is one of the first videos I did on the channel was covering the news for the Fatherland. Please don't go back and watch it. It was horrendous. But yeah, like 6 or 7 years ago. Horrendous. Either way, yeah. These things could definitely come in as auto reloaders if they made them like an additional package, so you could play as a single shot or an auto loader. Do you feel it would be effective to place artillery players into bot-only games? Absolutely no. We are not going to punish players because they play a certain class. That's the complete right answer. As much as I hate artillery in the game, they should not, you shouldn't be forced into playing against bots. Wargaming should just balance them, but yeah. At the same time, I think they're not awful right now. They're just so boring to play up against. It's just the actual idea of them is just boring. Anyway, is it possible to get the T-30 in Era 1 Cold War? Right now we have plans to bring some bigger and iconic tanks from World War II into the eras. It's just a matter of fitting them into the roadmap. So that's good. Is it possible to have contracts for special skins? It's interesting and we would need to have conversation and see if it makes sense. This is one of the things that I think Wargaming are missing out on so much is the cosmetics and challenges and contracts and lifelong challenges that you have to complete which give you rewards that actually make you want to play to be able to get those rewards and show it off to people. There is nothing like that in World of Tanks. There literally is nothing in the console version which makes you go, yeah, I actually had to work for this to get this cosmetic, or I played a load of tanks in a load of games in this tank to be able to get it. There's nothing like that in the game right now, and Wargaming are definitely missing out from that. Anyway, moving on, is it possible to receive a small reward when playing with members of our clan or platoon in general? This idea would be great for next year when we focus more on clans. This would be good. Any plans for a public search feature where we can search for players to platoon with? This will be another idea for next year when we try to improve platoons and clans. This should be a thing that we can do, an auto find player thing that you can essentially find other people to play with. This would be fantastic. Anyway, that is the update news. Hopefully it was quite long. But I wanted to cover everything. I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of some of the things Wargaming are releasing in its upcoming updates. And of course, let me know what you thought of this new season in the comment section down below. Give it a like if you did like it. Let me know what videos you want to see next. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow in the next video on this channel. And I'll see you there. Goodbye. Thank you very much.